think there's a lot more in my brethren out there. I think there's a lot more in my teammates than they're currently given. And this pandemic has showed we can do things.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Let's get it. Good morning.
Let's go.
What's up?
Let's go.
Hey, man, listen, I hope you guys are awake. I hope you guys are ready to go. I hope you guys are feeling great because, man, we have a legend of legends on the call this morning. We're just so blessed and fortunate, just so grateful, to be honest with you, that we have this gentleman here. When it's all said and done, Tom Safford and the Safford legacy, they're probably going to go down as one of the biggest businesses in Primerica history. And we have them here on our call this morning, man. I'm telling you guys, of all the speakers that the Ortiz hierarchy has had on their calls. I know we get fired up and we get excited every time we have a guest speaker on, but I'm telling you, man, I've never been, and I'm speaking just for myself and Eric and the Ortiz family, Jackie and Brent, but I really, truly feel that I am more excited the most excited I've ever been about having this person on our call, man. We can relate in so many different ways in regards to running a family business, a family hierarchy, and just, wanting to have a factory of not only regional vice presidents, but senior national sales directors, $100,000 income earners, $1 million income earners. And just to kind of give you some stats to let you know about what kind of caliber of leader we have on our call here today. I was asking, Tom, the other day or yesterday, I was asking him, hey, could you kind of give me some statistics to help, introduce you? And listen to these statistics. As he was sending them to me, I was reading them, and literally, I could start feeling like my brain ooze out of my ears just from listening to these statistics. Listen to this, y'all. Started in Primerica in June of 1980, has 19,000 codes, 19,000 licenses. Okay, that's bigger than most insurance companies. Okay, that's what he has in his hierarchy, 19,000 codes, 905 regional vice presidents, 905 regional vice presidents, 60 million of premium that they write in an annual basis. He did 58,000 recruits, okay? Have done 58,000 recruits, 4.1 billion with a B of securities last year alone, okay? Total assets under management has 14.2 billion of assets under management. The hierarchy, his whole hierarchy was paid $158 million last year alone. Okay, that was the total payroll, Brian, was his hierarchy last year is 158 million. His rolling 12 currently, Tom and Layla Safford's rolling 12 currently is $3.68 million. And when the business was passed to him after the legend, the late great Bob Safford, which is Tom's dad, I'll talk to you guys a little bit about his story and all that thing. He was directly trained by Art Williams. When he passed away, the business was at $2.2 million. So to go from 2.2 million, 3.68 million current rolling 12 income, that's just to kind of let you guys know the quality of leader that he is and the fact that they've built an incredible business to have the business continue to grow well beyond what was given to them, man. We have such a big responsibility, as leaders. We're doing this for our family. I hope you guys realize, man, you may not have kids in the business, right? But I hope you guys take from today that what you're doing right now, what you're building right now, eventually could be passed on to your kids. And so it's so important that, guys, that you guys take notes, man. If you guys are on here and you're available to have an unblank screen, man, unblank your screen because Tom is going to absolutely just crush it today. So it is my honor. It is my privilege And we are just so grateful to pass it over to the amazing Tom Safford. Tom, take it away, sir. You there with us?
Let's go.
I am.
Let's go, Tom.
Let's go.
Well, thank you. Leela and I are blessed to get a little time with you this morning. And just, I could listen to Jason talk about me all day. I mean, that's great. That's fabulous. But really, what I heard when I heard all those numbers, first of all, Leela and I, yes, totally blessed. I wish, and I know the Ortizes have done a fabulous job of in their family legacy to make sure that things are passed on. But in the Safford family legacy, hey, that's just not how it worked. My dad determined that he was never going to die, I think. And so therefore he wasn't really prepared for death and really didn't have his estate in order the way he should, the way we talk about it. It's crazy. So Leela and I had to buy the business from the family in order to keep it going. And every adversity is going to hit you at every point in your life, whether you're highly successful or moderately successful or on your way to being successful. Adversity is going to hit you. And we had family members that basically said, yeah, you guys had a good run. Let's sell that code to the highest bidder and get the most money out of it we can and get out of Primerica. And Leela and I said, there's no way that's happening. So we had to buy the business from the siblings in order to do our parts of then growing it to levels that it hadn't been to in a long, long time. So, every little background has a background story. And the joy of Primerica and you on this call this morning, the 80-some folks that are on here, is that you've got an incredible story. And it's ready to be built upon, and it's ready to be used, and it's ready to be built. So I'm excited about spending some time with you this morning, because the Ortiz hierarchy is in a fabulous place right now that really has the ability to go into orbit if and only if decisions are made by the people on this call this morning. So I'm going to spend some time with you. Jason, since he's the one that I talked to the most in this process, I'm sure he talked to his brothers, mom and dad, his wives and in-laws through the whole thing. I just love the whole Ortiz family concept. But in it, there's sometimes I'll be very nice, and sometimes I'll be pointed, and sometimes I'll be tough, and sometimes I'll be crying, and sometimes, that's just kind of what the business is all about. So I do hope that you take the spirit of everything that I say in the spirit in which it is meant, which is I'm just here to try and help you grow. The numbers I heard the most when I heard Jason talk about those this morning were this. It was an immediate flashback to 42 years ago in June of 80, almost 42 years ago in June of 80, when it was just 5 people in a basement, my mother, my father, my brother, myself, my little sister who was 10, starting this little family business. And to have that little family business grow to where it is today has some to do with us and everything to do with the power of Primerica and the power of the structure that allows you, and I know I'm going to talk a lot about the Ortiz family this morning, but a lot about you, each of you on this call. It allows you the power to be as big or as small as you want to be as relevant or irrelevant as you want to be. Now, nobody gets up in the morning and says they want to be irrelevant, that says they don't want to max out their day. But so much happens in a day that unless we really get around to deciding that today is going to be the biggest day, the most fabulous day, another day toward where I'm heading, then we've got to make sure that we transition out of what each of our days start like from here on in. So I asked Jason for a bunch of numbers. I've got every RVP's numbers here for the last 6 months. Some of you are glad I have your numbers. Some of you are like, oh my God, Tom has your numbers. But you are no different than any other hierarchy and any other RVPs that we talk to. At the end of the day, we're in a business where some people decide to get after it in a big way, and most people decide to get after it, in a little way, and some decide not to do anything at all. So it is an incredible business that I'm excited about spending some time with you today about. So when I really look at the Ortiz hierarchy numbers, and I say, okay, here's an $800,000 family. What do we need to do in order to get to $1 million? Can we do it in the next 2 months? Can we do it by convention in 3 months? Listen, there's 92 days left before convention starts. You can absolutely change your whole world in the next 90 days. If we really listen to everything that we talk about with our newest recruits, if we listen to everything we say about our newest recruits, we let them know that they can earn a bonus by doing something in a 90-day cycle. Is that right or wrong? Raise your hand if that's right. Yeah, that's right. If you don't know that's right, okay, we need to have a conversation, but that's right. But we also know, and we try to project, and we try to have people get after making district in 30 days. That's what we try to do, a major sprint to district. So if that's the case with our newest folks, why shouldn't it be the case with our veterans folks? Why shouldn't that be what we have in our minds of what we're going to do going forward? I'll talk a bit about that later. But I look at the numbers in the Ortiz hierarchy family business, and I see a lot of good things there. I see a lot of good things. Man, it's awesome to have 14 RVPs. It's great to have, it's great to have 10 firsts and 4 seconds. And I know the family, I'm just going to call them the family. I know the family has got to decide that they need to go wider. I can tell you after 42 years of experience, the thing we should have done better is to go wider. Now, this is coming from a family that at our peak had 61 first generation RVPs. And I will tell you, we needed to go wider. So listen to that. Have that stick in the back of your brain each and every day as you're thinking about how you build your business. Because that's the one thing I wish we could have done better. Why? Some people leave. Some people quit. There's always something that's going to take people's eye off the ball. Always. And you can never be surprised with people taking their eyes off the ball. It's human nature. And so of the 61, we now have 25 firsts. Some died. Been around 42 years, people died. Some died, some left, some we reassigned to other RVPs. What a great problem to have, where you can take first generations and play checkers and give them to other RVPs that might be better suited, with those people. But anyways, through all that process, width is where it matters. So when I'm looking at the numbers Jason sent me, and I say, where can the hierarchy get better? Y'all need to go wider. You just all need to go wider. There's not one person that is too wide right now in the Ortiz hierarchy. And somebody or a couple of people, or my gosh, it'd be awesome if double-digit people decided to plant their flags and say, I'm no longer gonna be small. I know in order for me to get big, have my family have all they want, fulfill all my dreams, have all my goals and wishes met, that I have to be wide. You're going to go wide. You've always heard it. You go wide, you go wide, you go wide till you find somebody to go deep with. Deep wells, they just don't come around that much. Don't ask me why. I don't fight it. I don't try and change that algorithm. I don't try to change that statistic. I just know it to be the case. Some will, some won't, some do, some don't. So what? I don't worry about such things. I just only can control what I can control. So each and every day, you need to have that as your mindset. I can only control what I can control. So if we do that, and Iris, you know that you can only control what you can control. I can say that. I can say that to everybody that's on this call right now. You can only control that stuff. So don't let it bother you unless it bothers you. Okay, so let's take a look at these numbers a little bit and say, all right, what do we do to go from where we are to where we want to be? How do we go? When I look at these numbers, as I said, I see some good things. How do we go from good to great? John Maxwell did a great book called Going from Good to Great. And so we took that and moved it around a little bit, fit it inside the Primerica model. So let me see if I can pull this up and share it with you. Where did I go? Sorry about that. One sec. We'll go there, and I'll go there. All right, let's take a look at this and let's say, okay, how can you guys see that? Okay, everybody see it? Okay, give it a little thumbs up. Beautiful. So how can the Ortiz, the General Alliance, and the aviators go from good to great? Now, isn't it an unbelievable business where you could be making $800,000 and be considered good and not great? I think that of the people that we've got to spend time with going around the country, Leila and I said it this morning to each other, Ortiz family is one of our favorites. Why? They just have great attitudes. They're just happy people to be around. If I've got to be around people who are smiley and happy, or people who are, as Art would say, dull, disillusioned crybabies, I'd rather be around the Ortizes of the world. It's your only shot at going from good to great, is to hang around with people. So let's take a look at. First of all, I think there's 4 things that everybody needs to do. I need to put these out there. I put them out almost every single time I talk. These are the priorities that we lived by to build our business. Not went by, lived by. And when you live by priorities, I'm not talking God, family, business. Those are our real priorities. But the priorities of the business need to make sure that we master those 4 in order to be able to show others the greatness of the Primerica opportunity. So number 1, you always need to make money. I love a lot of people that I haven't even met yet that are on this call, but frankly, we need to make more money to be a better advertisement in your community as how great Primerica is. Ortiz's, great examples. Edward, great example. We need more examples of the greatness of Primerica in the community. And unfortunately, we're in a world where hearts are one thing. When people get to know people, they discover their heart and how great people are in their heart. But people understand how well a business is doing based on money that is being made. And money being made and money being accumulated are 2 different things. We've got to make sure we keep that priority of not only making the money, but keeping the money. But we're always making money first and foremost. Second of all, we've got to develop 7 to 10 key people. Well, 7 to 10 key people are different for everybody involved. 7 to 10 key people for an RVP who's smaller, there's 7 to 10 key people, starts with 7 to 10 key people showing up each and every week at a meeting, and it moves to 7 to 10 regional leaders, which then goes to 7 to 10 first generation RVPs. Art told us develop 7 to 10 first generation RVPs and you will be financially independent. That's what Art Williams specifically told the Safford family. So my dad, being the A personality he is, he says, okay, fine. We're going to develop those 7 to 10 key people. If you tell me a key person's an RVP, a first generation RVP, we're going to develop 7 to 10 in our very first year. That's what he said. That was our mission. That was the goal. That's what every day of our working life looked like. How do we develop 7 to 10? How do we attract enough people so that eventually when they get moved through the tunnel, that at the end of that funnel comes out 7 to 10 first generation RVPs. That was our daily focus each and every day. And we understand in order to do that, we needed to, number 3, work the law of large numbers in the shortest period of time. Unfortunately, as you know, most people work the law of small numbers over a long period of time, and they never get anywhere. We've got to create this momentum, create this mass movement to get people moving. We did that in the form of recruiting 118 people our first month in business, which was a pretty good first month in business, and a little under 3,000 recruits our first year. That's how we created our momentum. But the focus from the beginning was make money and develop 7 to 10 key people that say, well, wow, these guys are heading someplace. I want to follow them. See, they follow you first, Primerica second. The joys of Primerica, not only do you have a fabulous example of who to follow in humble, honest, great people like the Ortizes, but then you also have a company to follow who's being currently led by a fabulous leader in Glenn Williams, who tells you exactly like it is and then backs up his words with his walk. Fabulous leader to have. And number 4, you got to make sure you got a system whereby recruiting never stops. I'd like to say that Leela and I had a boatload of the 58,000 recruits that the hierarchy recruited last year, but we had 1 or 2, and the system created the rest. So if those are the priorities, if that's where we're headed, and we're going to go from how we go from good to great, we need to understand that nothing great was ever accomplished without discipline. Now we're talking here, what do we need to do in these next 90 days to create something way bigger than you currently have? And so it's that discipline that is going to get there. It requires disciplined people with disciplined thinking, with disciplined action. That's what going from good to great means. Let's talk about some of this so we can understand a little bit. So let's take a look at what disciplined people look like. Disciplined people have clear, concise mental pictures that are burning desires to them, not mere wishes. If you're going to be a huge part of what happens on this team going from good to great, the 133 people on this call need to say to themselves, are the goals I have, are the thoughts I have, or what I want out of life, are they mere wishes or are they burning desires? Burning desires mean it has to happen. Mere wishes are, well, if it happens, wonderful. You don't get anywhere in life with wonderful. You get somewhere in life by fighting hard after something it is that you want. So all those clear, concise mental pictures need to be burning desires. Disciplined people do the right things with their time. This really requires your ability to do 2 things: to eliminate and concentrate. 2 things that are difficult in today's world. Eliminate your distractions and concentrate on the things that, going back to the basics, make you money, build a business on your way to building a legacy. See, everyone on the call wants to make sure, excuse me, what's good? What's good is to be an RVP. What's great is to have RVPs. So we've got to make sure we do what's required in order to do that. So we need to eliminate the stuff in our lives that get our distractions to our business. So we need to eliminate the things that you might be doing yourself that you've got to find other people to do. We need to understand that in Primerica, home office compliance, home office loves us talking about it, but compliance hates us talking about potential earnings, right? We don't want to talk about that too much. On this call, I'm going to talk about it till I'm blue in the face. Because a rep in Primerica, if it truly takes about 5 hours to get a client, have a prospect become a client on the sales side, prospect become a client. If it takes about 5 hours, now it could take even less now that we don't have to drive anywhere, but if it takes about 5 hours, give a presentation, work on the F&A, present the carryback, do all the things you have to do. If that's about 5 hours, and an RV and a rep's going to make what a rep's going to make on it, they make about $42.50 an hour in Primerica. Go find any other job in America as a person just starting out can make $42.50 an hour. That's not something they can do. Well, if that's a fact, and go do your own math to find out it's a fact. If that's a fact, and if we were allowed to, which we're not, but if we were allowed to take the Fortune magazine articles or something that says we're one of the greatest companies in America, one of the greatest places to work in America, and you just went down the street, I don't have one with me, but if you just went down the street and you showed this to everybody and say, we're hiring $42.50 an hour, we're hiring $42.50 an hour, we're hiring $42.50 an hour, would you recruit more people than you currently do? Yes or no? That's an attitude. That's a attitude to say, I know this is how good Primerica is. I'm going to tell the world what it looks like. And I know this is a vehicle to make it happen. I love the Ortizes. Most places aren't going to pay that family $800,000. They're not going to pay the Safford family $3.6 million. Not that good. But what we're very good at is showing people $42.50, we're hiring $42.50, we're hiring $42.50 that we're hiring. And in order to do that, you've got to eliminate all that stuff you see on the screen that takes up our time. And instead of doing those things, concentrate on getting a job done. We've got a short period of time for the Ortiz hierarchy. Yes, it helps. Yes, it helps the family get to the ruby ring. That's a wonderful byproduct of you getting what you want. There's not enough rings in these RVPs of what Jason sent me. There's not enough rings. There's not enough diamonds. There's not enough multiple diamonds. If Leela and I and the team that did it with us can create 4 new diamonds for the Safford family in 2021, then surely a group of 14 RVPs can sit there and do 20 some diamonds in 2022 out of the group of 14 RVPs. Now, it just depends how many people want to grab how much of those diamonds. Certainly, we've seen with some people that are going quickly, like a Carlos Leon and others, that you can go as fast as you want to get in these diamonds. But you can't do it by doing any of those things. So we've got to eliminate all that stuff. And the biggest thing I see people having trouble with, Eric, is spending time with people who are not trying. Why? We got nice hearts. We want the best for people. Well, guess what? The best for people doesn't necessarily equate to you building a business. So we've got to make sure that we do that. So we've got to eliminate having new recruits schedule your appointments, in my opinion. That leads to stands up. You guys got to schedule the appointments for them. You've got to eliminate, you got to start your day with the recruiting mindset. So in my opinion, that for us, that was all in the morning. It was a different world back then, but you've got to learn to separate a little bit recruiting from selling. So if you recruit by Bonnie Jardee, great $400,000 earner out of Gillette, Wyoming, town of 35,000 people who makes $400,000, you do the math, that's pretty doggone good in that little town, Wyoming, where there's more tumbleweeds than there are people, it appears, when I go there. But when you look at it, I said to her, she's heavily securities based right now. And those securities appointments she can have in the day. So I said, here's what you need to do. You need to sell by day, recruit by night. We recruited by day and sold by night. Why? Because we had to be in people's homes. People's homes were during the nighttime. So we need to be in their homes. So we recruited while we were there and we were sold while we were there. Today's Zoom environment, you can do both all the time, but you have to eliminate the things that get in the way of doing the best and you doing your best. And you've got to concentrate and focus on some things that are going to help to make you money. You need to have pictures of what it is that you want. Well, I'm calling your CCMP, your clear, concise mental picture, everywhere. In your house, in your office, in your car. We used to do when we have a managers meeting, I'd be doing the meeting, and the dad would take over, or dad would start it and I'd take over, whichever the case may be. But when the other one wasn't on, we'd go out into the parking lot on the building that we were in and go out into the parking lot and look in everybody's cars. And we'd look, and back then nobody really locked their cars. So we would look in our cars and we would find out if pictures were up. And were they on the dashboard? Don't hide the speedometer, but are they everywhere else so that you can see them? Were your goals on the side of the visor that you can see? And we used to reward those that had their pictures up and didn't spend a whole lot of time with people that didn't have their pictures up. Why? They must not want it bad enough. You've got to remember success principle is, some people say, well, Tom, I don't know how to get started, Tom. I have no place to talk to, Tom. Listen, if someone wants something badly enough, even if they don't know how to get it, they'll figure out a way. You'll figure out a way. So figure out a way to reach people, become attractive personality where people want to say, we want to be attracted to you, not repelled from you, in order to make it happen. Well, you need to know where you're headed, and everybody should know that. Your schedule should look like you spend 50% and concentrate 50% of your time recruiting wide direct to you. I have more RVPs that say, I had 6 recruits this month. You had 6 recruits this month. How come I don't see any on the bulletin? Well, I was doing interviews and recruiting this person for that person. Well, that's not 6 recruits of yours. That's 6 recruits of theirs. You need to have 50% of your time recruiting wide direct to you. I don't care if you're an RVP or a district. We've got to make sure that that width is what matters. In order to go from good to great, you got to concentrate and focus on leading by example. And by leading by example, these appointments, I'm not talking about even the definition of appointment has changed. That's like if you talk to somebody, that's their appointment. I'm talking KTAs. Those are what I'm talking about with these minimum of 2 appointments. Why? Because even if you're not real good in our business, you'll close one of those 2. And if you close one of those 2 over the next 60 days, and everybody on the list that I have closes 50% of the people that they talk to, not only does the Ortiz family go over $1 million, they probably bump to 1112, and you guys start putting on diamonds. Leading by example is something that must happen. One of the things that we did, we made sure that the first two times that we would talk to people were in our own markets. Why? I never wanted our income. Dad told us, never let your income be dependent on somebody else. Your ability to pay your bills. Personal sales creates income. Overrides create wealth. It just depends on how much wealth you want to have. You can make a pretty good income on your own pen in Primerica, but you got to get flat out wealthy. Have a team, like Jason said, was paid 158 million last year, not because of me, but because of how good they got at wanting to have overrides. And that makes all the difference in the world. You've got to make sure that the list of your new recruits, the top 25 list of new recruits, they pass the 4 tests. What are those 4 tests? Always make money, develop 7 to 10 key people. Within the newest recruits, in order for them to develop 7 to 10 key people, they need to have 7 to 10 prospects in a meeting each and every week. This is stuff that you guys know, but you need to concentrate on it. You need to focus and concentrate personally on inviting people every single day. If you're doing op meetings, invite them to op meetings. If you're doing Zooms, big Zooms, invite them to the Zooms. If you're doing one-on-ones, invite that many to one-on-ones. We're in the business of inviting people to come up into our story and have a chance at a life they otherwise wouldn't have or don't have a shot at in most instances. That's what we've got to do. That's what we've got to concentrate on. You got to master fundamentals, not only the 4 priorities that I told you, but fundamentals. You guys know what the fundamentals are in the Ortiz hierarchy. So, but in order to master those, in order to master any fundamentals of our business, whether it's kitchen table presentations, whether it's third-party system, whether it's what to say to new prospect, whatever the case may be, securities. The Ortiz family would already be at $1 million if they were better in securities. It's just a fact. That's not conjecture. That's just not what do I think is a fact. One of the things when we first started in our business was we didn't have securities. So when the ability to have securities in our second year came along, it was just in little contractual plans through Pioneer. They were just PACs. We couldn't do any lump sum money. That wasn't a thing. So we just collected up these little PACs that over the course of 42 years account for $700,000 a year at the start of the year for Tom and Leila Safford, because of little PACs that get started. So when I tell you this stuff, it's not theory. It's what's happened in our lives. This is how life works. And so your constant self-improvement of getting better at your presentation. I was terrible when I started, terrible. I went 0 for 70 on my first 70 appointments. Most people would have quit. Most people would have said, I'm not doing it. Most people said, I'm out. I failed my securities test 7 times. Most people wouldn't even bother with that. They'd say, I'm out. The reason I failed it, why? I didn't take the time to master the material. I tried to slide by, didn't work. Wow, am I glad I made a change, because last year the company paid Leila and me over $2 million of our 3.6 was from securities only. Good thing I passed the test. Good thing I got better at self-improvement. So we've got to make sure that we spend personal time and field training time only with people who determine and have done something to prove they deserve it. Now, listen, you're in a little bit of a time here where over the next 60 days, we've got to compress time frames. This is a long-term thinking, I'm telling you, but in the course of these next 2 months, when nobody on this call, the 135 people on here, nobody's going to sleep over the next 2 months. Nobody's going to left any stone unturned over the next 2 months. Why? 1, for the Ortizes and all that they've meant in your lives. And 2, what your family demands from you and needs from you, and to leave the legacy that we talk about. We've got to make sure you spend time with people who have passed some tests that determine you should spend time with them. What are some of those tests? These are just quick ones because there's other stuff I got to cover. They earn money by the age of 10, selling or starting their own businesses. Who, when asked what they accomplished, what their greatest accomplishment in life to date is, and the proudest one they are. It's not your wife, it's not your kids. We're all proud of them. but they start to count their accomplishments. Well, I made Eagle Scout at age 14. I started my own business at this. I became, I accumulated X amount of money. Whatever the case may be, what's the greatest accomplishment they have? And they've got to think about it instead of like, I really haven't had one other than my wife or my kids. Great, some accomplishment, 2 minutes of fun. They turned out to be good people. And I mean, come on. Spend personal time with, score 80%. I can't even talk about that because we're not allowed to do it anymore. And they're coachable. Spend time with people who are coachable. Here's coachable people. I love everybody on this call. Everybody. When the call started at 9:30, I'm on 2 minutes early. Go back, check the record. I'm on 2 minutes early in case something happens, I can't get on. I'm on 2 minutes early. But when I started at 9:30, when I got on at 9:28, there were 43 people on the call. When I started the call, there was 58 people on the call. Now we got 133 people on the call. Here's your coachability test. Coach calls a play, run the play. If a meeting starts at 9:30, be ready to go at 9:30. In a normal job, in a clock in, clock out business, you got to clock in before your working time. Let's say it's 9 to 5. You got to clock in before 9 so that you start working at 9. You better clock out after 5, because what happens, you work all the way to 5, then you get ready to leave, then you walk out the door, then you click out. That's what happens in the real world, but somehow people forget that when they get to Primerica. Why? Because we're too nice. Too nice. Ortiz family, raise the bar. Give them a higher expectation of what life looks like, of what people can be like. That's the only, to me, that's the only strength of bringing around those of us that have been around a long time, that the bulletin said did something, so that you've got examples of people that did this on your way to you doing it. Raise the bar. Produce a top 25 quickly and enthusiastically. Those are the people we need to spend time with. Listen, I'm not going to go through all this because I got other things to cover, but when there's only 168 hours in a week, we've got to make sure over these next 2 months, these next 60 days, because I'd like to get it done in 60 days, that we max out those 168 hours in Primerica. Yes, you still have to have a family. Yes, you still have to have a life. But there's a lot of people on this call who could do a better job of time efficiency and make something happen out of nothing. I know that every single one of you, if your family's life was in danger and you had no way of figuring out, or you thought there was no way to figure out how you were going to get through this mess other than through prayer, still do the prayer, but other than that, people figure out a way to get it done. So Tom, I don't have anybody to talk to. Figure out a way to talk to people. Tom, I have no referrals and no clients. Figure out a way to start getting referrals and start getting clients. Art Williams always told us, if you walk down the street, you knock down 100 doors, and all you ask them is, you don't need insurance, do you? Negatively asked question. You don't need insurance, do you? 1 out of 100 will say, well, yes, I do. Great. If that's all you've got to go on, which is not how you build a business, but you got to start where you stand. And over these next 60 days, you got to start where you stand. Why? Because the team needs it. The team who's done everything for everybody needs it. You know, we had people rally and we had people rally, at different stages in our career. But the first big rally, the 2 first big rallies that we wanted to have people do. The first one was we wanted to do, this is a crazy number, but I'll just throw it out there anyway. We wanted to, in our, so we started really January of '81 was our first full month after licensing, getting kicked out of our state, all those kind of things from June to 81, cease and desist orders, all things that you have to deal with when you're building a business. So January of 81 was really our first month. So March of 82, just 14 months later, we said, you know what, we're going to do something that's never happened, but we think we can do it. We're going to have a base shop that does $1 million of premium. That was our goal. Silly goal. Crazy goal. But in that crazy goal, guess what we did? We did $1 million of premium. $1,04,032 of premium 1 month in March of 82. That's not to tell you anything about us. It just is there to tell you about when you focus on something, great things happen. Back when we were making national sales director, the first 6 national sales directors in Primerica were appointed by Art Williams. The 7th, which was my father, the 7th had to jump through some hoops, and you had to have 50 RVPs. Now you need 9. 50 RVPs, each pay for 20,000 of premium. What does that mean? 20,000 of premium had to go into force all in 1 month. So you had to do $1 million in premium, 50 RVPs, each doing 20. Eric, I'm not kidding you with these numbers. It's crazy. But why we do it? Because we raised the expectation. We raised the bar. Other people were trying to get to numbers that they wanted to get to. They were working on their promotions. They were trying to get their balanced life. They were trying to be financially independent and leave financial impact on others. That's where all that mattered. You've got to remember that nothing great was ever accomplished without discipline. You got to have a weekly schedule that just is non-negotiable. Non-negotiable over these next 60 days. So you can either have 60 hours that you do your normal job for nominal pay, little raises, 80% of the people are in debt. They pay the jobs, not you, and people change their jobs every year, or 12 hours each and every week for financial independence and unbelievable retirement. Those are the 2 options. Let's start working like those are our options. Let's start working like that's what's going to get us there. Over these next 60 days, I'm not coming up with the right word. Leela would come up. Leela, you'd come up with the right word. Anyway, it's not hitting me. In order to make that happen, full-timers, get in 40 hours of work over these next 60 days. You'll be saying to yourself, 40 hours of work. When you really look down to it and you eliminate all those things I said you eliminate, and you only concentrate on this, how do you not recruit 1 or 2 directs? How do you not get 2 clients? How do you not become all those things that you want to be? You've got to dream, you've got to focus, you've got to concentrate, you got to be disciplined to have what it is you want in your life. You've got to say to yourself, my dreams are going to come true you got to fill in the blank. Whether it's 2022 or 2023 or 2026, whatever the case is, you've got to make that happen. So listen, I already did all that part of stuff. Boom, boom, boom. Let me go through this. We got to make sure in order for you to build solidly, you build rapidly, you've got transferable techniques. Why? What does that mean? It means that people are doing presentations that make sense. Everybody, the leader knows what's going on in the business. Teach your people how you want it to be. I don't have enough time to go over all that stuff. So, but oops, that was one I just had. I don't know if we go back. I don't go back. Go back. What do you see there? In order to do here, the key here is expectancy of perfection. I think that's what separated the Safford hierarchy at the beginning from others, is that expectation of perfection, not to be good, but to be perfect in all aspects of our business. We did it this way. My dad was perfect in a lot of them, but the areas he wasn't perfect in, Jason, Eric, you can appreciate this. My brother or myself had to be perfect in, so that collectively we were a perfect unit. Is it easy? No. Does it happen in the military? For the most part, yes. Are there times where the military isn't perfect? Yes. Are there times our leaders aren't perfect? Yes. But working toward it and expecting it to done and show people that once you've done there, that from there on in, your life gets to be what it is. Andrew Carnegie said this. He said, the position a person occupies in the world depends on the quantity and the quality of the service they render, plus the mental attitude with which they relate to others. What does that mean? The quantity. How many conversations are you having? The quality. How many quality conversations are you having? And is the service you render worth someone buying into? Plus the mental attitude with which they relate to others. Mental attitude. You can't go in there, you can't go into a house or with somebody and being this bombastic, in your face person if people are like get blown away by such things. You can't be this. We have one of our first generation RVPs, $250,000 earner, great guy. But when he started in the business, he's a very vocal person. And he would just overpower people, kind of like you see that guy sitting in the chair with the music coming at him and his hair being blown back because the music's so loud, that kind of thing. And you're like, oh, am I going to be able to survive this KTA with this guy? And it took him a while to be able to talk in a manner that people could relate to. And as soon as he started to do that, his business started to explode. So what does all this mean for you guys? What does it all mean for you? It means that you have the opportunity in the next 60 days to totally and completely transform your lives. Those aren't mere words. Totally and completely transform your lives. Why? Because most people currently aren't as disciplined as they need to be. Currently, people aren't maxing out all that they have inside of them. They don't have, I look at the numbers and I see some good things going on there, but we got to go from good to great. We've got to make sure that who said it here? We've got to make sure of a Ramsey Cameron said, let's make use of these hours. Got to make use of those hours. The reality of it is, and one of the things we've learned in the last 2 years, we don't know how much time we got left. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but we've all had people we know lost 2 RVPs during COVID. So I understand that this can happen. I understand that life is fragile. My mom didn't plan on dying at 52, just 5 years after we started the business. And my dad didn't plan on dying at 77. One thing we do know, that none of those things are on our schedule. Those are already fixed in time, in my opinion. So we've got to make sure that we max it out. So today, in like 10 minutes after this call, or whenever the Ortizes are done, you need to be able to say to yourself, did anything that Tom say hit home to me? Does it stick in my craw? Does it stick in my belly? Does it stick in my heart and say, you know what? It's time to plant the flag. You know what? It's time to go to a new level. And if everybody here, again, to start where I was at the beginning, we all, when we get a recruit, we're all sitting there and we're talking about Sprint to District, and we're talking about bonus money, and we talk about what can happen in a 90-day cycle. And we talk about, if we had all 133 people on this call go 1 by 1,000 each over this next, on top of what already kind of happens on their teams, I expect in these next 2 months, a lot of these numbers, people are going to be doubling their numbers as we go in these last 2 months. I'm sure that Eric and Jason and Ed and Yvonne and rest of the family are going to be looking at it and saying, who's going to double? Hopefully you've given everybody your numbers. Hopefully you've taken a stand and say, this is what I'm going to do. But in order to go from good to great, let's make sure that we do exactly what we ask our brand newest person to do, that doesn't even know how good Primerica is, that doesn't even know the possibilities. And we ask them to go talk to people and do 1 by 1,000. For every time you do it, you get $200. Play the mental game with yourself. And how much bonus money are you going to make? How many districts are you going to produce in the next 30 days? I can tell you, just off the top of my head, 5 of our first generation RVPs got to RVP in somewhere between 4 and 6 months from IBA. That's a decision backed by discipline, backed by action. So Jason, I don't know where you want to go from here, buddy. If you want to do any question and answer, I can do that for a little bit if that's what you want to do. I can also say sayonara. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I can't say thank you enough. I know my dad is on, and I'm pretty sure he's going to want to, say something, and I'll come and just close it out with a word or two. But Dad, you on the call, Dad?
Come on, Jason, you know I'm the call. You know I'm on this call.
I saw that pretty clear.
Man, Tom, I cannot thank you enough. This is exactly what we needed. Let me bring that back. This is exactly what I needed. Okay. And you put out all this information here. Let me tell you, if I would be part of the Ortiz organization, sitting out there as one of the 130 something, I would not be looking at this, man. Well, let's take the Ortizes up here with the information that Tom brought us to the table today. I would take this information and say, I want to be the next Tom. I want to have my own business. I want to get financially independent. I want to have those numbers that he's doing. What did he do? And this thing is about you focus on you, because if you focus on you, I'm telling you, you will take care of us. Okay. But I'm looking at you becoming totally financially independent. And let me tell you, Tom, you brought it to the house. I really, truly appreciate it. You and Bob, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Bob Safford, the great Bob Safford, was a Marine officer. That's where all this discipline comes in. And he'll let you know, hoorah, he will let you know that he is a Marine officer. And I appreciated that so much from him. And I took a lot of what he said. He's the one who came up with the, if you see it, you can seize it. You can take it. You can get it. First time I heard that, I said, man, I got it. Because the Bible simply says that ask and you shall receive. Seek and you'll find. Ask and the doors will be open for you. And that's exactly what I did. And when Tom put it in that point of view, I said, let's go for it. Let's go for this. So you definitely helped us, especially myself, to raise this bar. All right. And I'm telling you, I got so many nuggets, the fundamentals, the A.O. Williams way, everything that you brought to the table was just absolutely phenomenal. And I'm going to take that to heart. Hey, minimum 1 by 1,000. I've always said non-negotiable minimum. You should never end up the month 0 by 0, 1 by 0, something like non-negotiable 1 by 1. If we got 100+ people here and we all focus on that, shoot, we'll take the numbers through the roof. So we just got to continue moving this forward and take it to the next level. So Tom, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate you. I appreciate your family. I appreciate everything that you do. And I know I don't want to cut off Yvonne. Yvonne probably got a word or something to say out here. So Yvonne, what you got? Your love towards Tom. Come on, talk to us, girl. Let us know.
Absolutely. Tom, what an incredible, presentation. Thank you so much. This is exactly what the hierarchy needs right now. Just, those words of, wisdom and focus, that we can go out there and, just do the work that needs to be done so that we can just, celebrate. So thank you so much for taking the time. You and Layla are like one of our favorite people in the world, and we appreciate you. So, hey, how you doing? Oh, precious, how are you? We love you dearly. And I can't wait to be up there with the $1 Million Earner, clan.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and we're gonna be your biggest cheerleaders. So psyched for you guys. You deserve it.
Oh,
all right.
Really
Thank you so much.
We'll pass it back to you.
All right.
Hey guys,
Thank you. Well,
hey Dad, I want to close it out. So Tom, you're probably not going to even believe this, but I remember you did a millionaire university for us at the Tampa Bay Leadership School back in the day, and I still have the pamphlet that you gave. It was such a great refreshing refresher course. But I just want to close out with your last page that you had on here, and it made so much sense. It goes on to say the high cost of waiting. Okay, guys, and I want to share this with the rest of you guys, the 121 people that are left on this call right now. He goes on this page and he says, look, the high cost of waiting. He says, Shakespeare once said, discernment to recognize one's hour when it comes and courage to make use of it are vital assets of life. There is a tide in the affairs of men which when taken at the flood leads on to fortune. Guys, and then there is a quote that he put on from a book, Gold by the Moonlight by Amy Carmichael. And in that book, there's a quote that said, the most powerful thing, guys, I want you guys to really pay attention to me right now. It said, the most powerful thing in your life is your opportunity. It is the most irretrievable. We must have clearness of vision and a quiet mind if we are to see it, and lay hands upon it as it hurries past us on very quiet feet and disappears as utterly as the day has gone. Listen, y'all, what we're looking at doing in the next 60 to 90 days is going to be absolutely historic. Okay. But what I really want to share with you guys is the next, 5, 10 years, 15 years, is your flood of opportunity. Okay. There's never been a better time to be in financial services. The need for what we do is at an all-time high, but the supply of people providing this information is at an all-time low. America needs us now more than ever, right? We need to be professionals. We need to take this thing to heart, have our clear, concise mental pictures, and get really good at prioritizing our time management. Let's go do something special. Let's go do something great. And let's take your life and this business to the next level, man. Tom, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, man. It's an absolute just pleasure to have you on here, man. We're just so fortunate. We got the whole crew up in here, right? But man, with that being said, we're gonna end off how we always end off. If you guys could go ahead and unmute.
Thank you so much, Tom. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Y'all know who we are.
Thank you, Tom. Let's
Get it
Thank you,
done.
Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Nothing but grateful, man.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Come over, whip you and pull.